Welcome everyone to Keep It Classy Tech. This is my Sony X95J review, and this is going to be a different style or format of review. I wanted to have more of a direct conversation about the TV, and I really do like it, so let me know what you think of this style and if you want to see it again in the future, and enjoy. Alright, so this is the Sony X95J 65-inch. This is a dirty screen test. And this panel is pretty clean overall. There's a few small spots, but overall it's very nice and very clean for an LCD. In the corners there's very light vignetting. That's typical to see in an LCD, but this is again very light, very subtle. So overall I give this a very good score for dirty screen effect. Alright, now for a blooming test. I have the ISO turned up pretty high to try and make it easier for you to see any blooming. But the way that this TV handles blooming is different than TVs with more zones. So like right now with this kind of scene, all the zones are just lit up. So you don't really see blooming, you just have slightly raised blacks. It's like over in the bottom right and top right, they're turned off, but pretty much everything else is on. And the black levels are deep enough that for the most part it's not distracting. Alright, so here you can see blooming up top and right around that fire. And then this, like, these kinds of scenes are just like worst case scenarios in demos, but you're not really going to see that kind of a scene in a movie or TV show or real content. And in real scenarios, the blooming is just really not an issue. Alright, so before we get into some more content with the TV, here's my scorecard. Overall, the TV looks very good. Its only weak areas is going to be with connectivity and features, just with the two HDMI 2.1 ports, one being eARC, having to switch on those ports between 4K 120 or having Dolby Vision, not having VRR yet, not having Dolby Vision game mode. That's just the kind of really the only complaints I have overall for it. For an LCD, it's definitely my favorite, and that's because overall, factoring in accuracy, out of the box performance, its brightness, its black levels, just the whole picture to me is the best that I have seen on an LCD, and I can definitely recommend it, and I think you will be very happy with it. The only thing though is the audio is not where I thought it would be. It's not what I expected, but it could just be due to the smaller size compared to the A80J that I have. I just expected more out of the audio. But in my opinion, that's not a big deal. Alright, so if you like this review, just if you could press the like button, maybe leave a comment, that'll help other people to find it. I would appreciate that. Alright, so back to the rest of the review. I hope you like it. Alright, here's a nice bright HDR scene, and this really showcases why the X95J is my new favorite LCD. It is very bright. There's not really many trade-offs that it makes in order to have a very bright image that also gets fairly deep blacks as well. The Samsung QN90A does get a little bit brighter, and it also does have slightly better black levels. However, it doesn't really combine the two very well, and it also sacrifices detail, and it's not as accurate, being that it always forces dynamic tone mapping in HDR, whereas the Sony is more accurate, offers Dolby Vision, and just generally, there's not much to distract you from what you're watching, nothing that's going to take you out of the experience. The blooming is handled completely differently, so this and the QN90A are just two very different experiences. And personally, I prefer this, and this is my favorite LCD, not just of 2021, but just generally in overall. I have not seen any of the 8K sets, but I also don't think it's a good time yet to be buying 8K, so I'm not going to count those. Maybe the Z9J would impress me more, but I'll also have to wait until I see it to make that decision. But as far as 4K LCDs go, this is my favorite. This is what I'm going to recommend, unless you really just want the Samsung look and you're willing to give up accuracy and some detail to have a little extra brightness or a little bit darker blacks, then I would recommend the Samsung. So it's going to be just personal preference of what you like. So like the other Sony TVs this year, they use Google TV. This is the layout. As far as built-in TV apps go, this is my favorite one. But I also mainly use an NVIDIA Shield, which looks similar to this. So it's what I'm used to. And I also like how everything stays signed in based on your Google account. So if you have another Google TV and then you sign into this, it just signs in everything pretty much. It's a really good app selection, pretty much everything that you're going to want. And I generally don't really have any issues with it. That said, I still use the NVIDIA Shield for the upscaling, or the AI upscaling. Alright, and this right here is showcasing the advantage that this TV has over an OLED. Something like this, a very bright outdoor scene, is going to have a much higher average picture level brightness. Now the downside is this does have black bars, and this is about as bright of a scene as I can show, as far as overall. And right above the house where it's white, that's the only really part where the black bars lifted, is when there's really bright white. So if there's really bright other colors, it doesn't really lift the bars too much. It's only when it's really white. So this is in Dolby Vision, and this TV is capable of being very accurate. The colors are very strong, very well saturated. Alright, in this scene from The Witcher, the overall color temperature looks very good, and you have excellent shadow detail, being able to make out all of these trees. Something the TV does very well is shadow detail. Alright, this is a very challenging scene because there's dark areas with very bright windows in the background, and so when the light comes in, if it's not handled correctly, you can have a lot of overblowing, or you can have really dark shadow areas that you can't see very well. And the X95J is handling this very, very well. Alright, and then here, very bright underwater scene with lots of color, and the TV is very good at maintaining color in very bright scenes. All of the bright light coming in through the top of the water, all that detail is easily seen in person. And if you like a very bright gaming experience, the X95J delivers that in spades. So again, you have excellent shadow detail, you have excellent bright area detail, it doesn't blow things out. The color is held very well in high bright areas, and the local dimming works just as well in game mode, and there's no loss in brightness or contrast or anything like that in game mode. Game mode looks very, very good on the X95J. It is still awaiting for Sony to release a VRR update, so hopefully that does happen and soon. Aside from that, the only other thing that I would like it to have is a Dolby Vision game mode. But other than that, this is a very, very nice TV to play games on. Very low input lag, great response times, and it's, again, just a very bright gaming TV. Alright, here's Sea of Thieves during the daytime or the sun's just coming up, and that's extremely bright. Again, colors look fantastic. It's very, very smooth and responsive. Alright, as this content plays, something to keep in mind is the camera is not capable of capturing how bright this TV really is, or how dark the dark ranges get, or the shadow detail. The camera's range just cannot reach the range of the television. That said, if you can just, like in bright scenes like this where it looks blown out in the camera, it's not. You see the full detail, but it looks that bright while still maintaining the detail. A scene like this doesn't look like the camera's picking anything up except a field of white, but you can see every bit of the snow, all the little footprints and stuff through the snow. So just keep that in mind as you're seeing this content play. Who is this TV for? Well, pretty much anyone interested in an LCD and doesn't want to go OLED. If you're looking for a very bright TV with a lot of detail. Again, the Samsung QN90A can get a little bit brighter for some scenes, but it doesn't hold on to the detail as well and doesn't do it as accurately. And I keep bringing up the QN90A because that's really the only competition. The QN90 is, I would say, a class below this, and there really isn't any other LCD TV I can think of that would really compete with it besides the QN90A. So I'm sure if you're looking at this TV, you're probably looking at the QN90A as well. So again, if you want even brighter and a little bit better black levels, that's where the QN90A would be recommended. But if you want more detail and you want Dolby Vision, then I recommend this. And then when it comes to this versus OLED, well, if you want those real blacks and you're willing to give up some brightness for it, then you go to OLED. As far as reflections go, let me see if I can point my light at the TV. Alright. Let me do it this way. So, wait for a dark spot, but if a light hits the screen directly, it has a rainbow effect, same thing as Samsung. I mean, that's good though, because you're seeing, like, you can kind of see it right there above my hand, that little dot. But if it's a bright area, it actually does really well at hiding the reflections. So here's all dark. You can see that line going across the screen. That's what happens when a light hits it head on. But if it's just a bright room, then it's perfectly fine. Off angle, like where I'm sitting, you can see more blooming around, like out to about here. But if you were to move just in general viewing area, then a lot of that will fade away and it would be very, very hard to see. And again, these are like OLED specific kinds of demos, and that's really the only time you're going to see blooming. In normal real content, where it's the full screen is being used, then there's no blooming to be seen at all. Alright, I'm going to let this play out. Again, it's very, very beautiful TV. And if you are in the market for a very high-end LCD or a very bright TV, this should really be high up on your list. It just came out, so prices are at MSRP, but I imagine they will drop over the next few weeks. And then Black Friday is coming up pretty soon. This TV launched late in the year, so I don't think it's going to be replaced for a while, but I do think it will get some price drops pretty soon, just to stay competitive. I guess that pretty much covers the review. So I hope you like this. This was a different style of review. I will have more videos on this TV over the next few days or week. But yeah, I really like this X95J. Especially for a gaming TV, even without VRR. It's a very bright, nice looking gaming TV. And movie and TV content also very good. There's very, very little to complain about with this TV. And unless you've lived with OLED for years and you're really used to those deep blacks, I think you're going to be very, very happy if you pick this. So, thank you all for watching. I'll see you in some future videos. Have a good one.